Everyone. The Home Depot is struggling, and it's to be expected. And to be honest, it's not just Home Depot, it's Lowe's as well. And I'm sure we're going to start hearing stories about Ace Hardware and things like that, but really home builders are struggling pretty bad. The reason why is because the consumer's tapped. And a story I want to share with you actually comes around the same time as an ex-CEO of Home Depot actually warns about the economy, the greater economy, because of inflation. Now, what's funny about this round compared to the GFC, we didn't have nationwide inflation in all kinds of aspects like food and energy. Back then, we had inflation in housing prices, we had inflation in vehicle prices, and we had a little bit of gasoline inflation, diesel inflation towards the end, right in mid-2008. But even back then, you saw companies like Lowe's, Home Depot, they were putting out corporate earnings, and they were in a spot where they were saying, hey, not only do we have to do some layoffs and do some cutbacks, cut hours, things like that, they were actually closing Home Depot stores. As a matter of fact, back in 2008, it was announced that 15 Home Depot locations were closed because of that extreme stress on the economy. Now, people, just so you know, we're live. People don't like being on camera. So I always got to shift around and move around when I'm live because there's no editing here. But I want to talk about this story right here. And this is out of businessofhome.com. It's entitled Home Depot and Lowe's Continue to Struggle Amid Home Market Slump. It says, if like many industry watchers, you subscribe to the theory that the home improvement market is the leading indicator of the home furnishing sector, well, make yourself comfortable for a little bit longer. You know, talking about home furnishings, that's an interesting story because I had to go buy a couch just recently and I shopped at like probably 20 stores. And the one thing that was in common was there was zero customers. And it wasn't just one day of the week because Mrs. Ninja likes to really take her time shopping for specific colors and styles, if you know what I mean. And so we went around to tons of stores all throughout the different times of the week. And it was pretty impressive to me that there was zero customers buying home furnishings. And that is because, you know, in times like this, and I see this all the time where people are like, I'd rather, instead of buying a new car for a stupid high price and pay stupid high interest, I'll drive the wheels off mine. And so that's the case. And I've been that kind of consumer for a long time. Why fix what's not broke and why go buy some new car when you can, especially during hard times and you're trying to tighten your belt, to try and actually, you know, save some money and drive something that's older. Well, the Home Depot's one of the ex-CEOs of the company, and nobody knows housing cycles and construction cycles better than the CEO of Home Depot, right? And he's out warning that this is going to lead to something much worse. Now, while I'm reading this, hashtag what you like better, Home Depot or Lowe's. Quite frankly, I'm a Home Depot kind of guy. It says here, in reporting first quarter fiscal or financial results, Home Depot and Lowe's shared lackluster numbers, and neither was particularly optimistic about the rest of the year. The numbers would have been even worse if not for their services for contractors and other professionals, which outperform sales to individual homeowners, the DIYers who most closely correlate to home furnishings buyers. So now, think about this too, when we're talking about contracting services, one of the big things for contractors is that when you sign a contract, you can take quite some time to build a project. And then it's not until after that project's done do you need to go find another job. Well, a lot of contractors got caught up in the great financial crisis because they didn't see the signs because they were nose down to the grindstone, working their butt off until all of a sudden that job or a handful of jobs were finished. They had to go look for work, and all of a sudden the work dried up. There was no more to be found. And that's really important. That's that lagging indicator of construction, of building. You know, right now we see a bunch of companies like Lennar, Centex, and others, D.R. Horton, out building tons of homes. But you have to realize those contracts were set in place years ago. That land was purchased even longer than that ago. Permits were pulled, things like that. And so what I want people to understand is that lagging effect, that lagging indicator of the industry is important. See, Home Depot was reporting lackluster results back in the beginning of 2007. And by 2008, they were closing up stores. And not a ton, but you have to understand that these companies, especially publicly traded companies, have the opportunity to dilute their shares. Look at what's going on with GameStop, look what's going on with AMC. They can actually dilute their shares and sort of weather the storm, because if they can find anyone to buy their bonds, buy their shares, they can put off hard times and have enough money to sort of keep the doors open. But even in 2008, Home Depot found itself in a position where it couldn't keep all of the doors open, so it had to decide on something, and that was to close about 15 stores. So the reason why I do this and I talk about this is because right now we're in that moment where the lackluster sales are coming out. Things aren't looking so good, right? This is what happens when the Ninja's live. He's trying to navigate traffic. I'm gonna walk out this way. We're at that point where the numbers on Wall Street are undeniable. You have yourself a situation where we know the consumer is tapped. The professional services are what's keeping these companies going right now. That's what's keeping the earnings from not falling off a cliff and their share price falling off a cliff. And then what you've also got is a situation where you have to realize that these contracting services are building today. They're buying lumber from here, they're buying drywall and other things here because of a contract that was written a long time ago. The question is, what happens when the contract runs out? That's the question for you. I hope you guys have a great day. Before the Ninja gets hit by a car, I gotta go in and get some drywall mud. Ninja is out.